It's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. I have with me renowned fantasy author David Green, and we are here to talk about Season 2 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. Things we expect to see, things that we may see, and things that are almost pretty much definite due to some of the leaks and official stuff that's come out. So before we get into the actual video, I do want to give a spoiler warning. Spoiler warning, in this video we're talking about Season 2 of the Wheel of Time, so if you haven't seen the first season, we're going to ruin parts of that. And if you haven't read at least the first 3 books of Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, that's The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn, we're going to ruin those as well. All right, so let's get on to the video. All right, so we're going to talk about what we expect to see in Season 2. Now, of course, Season 1, we've talked about that a lot. You have your own podcast, YouTube channel on this. I've left a link to that down below in the description box. You folks, make sure you go over and follow them. They're absolutely fantastic. They're reading through the books from an author's perspective with a brand new reader. So there's a lot of really great stuff that comes out of that. Some maybe not so intuitive guesses. I've been on the podcast a couple times. It's a lot of fun. So make sure you folks check that out. But yeah, so Season 1 was... It was good. It had its low points, it had its high points, but it was a little bit different. But we ended up at the very end of the season in a much different spot than we expect in the books. So to set the scene for those of you who maybe didn't read the books or watch the show, and you're still watching even though the spoiler warning, the end of the book and the end of the show were very different. So at the end of the book, basically, you had... everyone was still together. So you had Rand, Matt, and Perrin. They were all still together with Moiraine and Lan, and Nynaeve and Egwene, and they were heading back to Faldera. Essentially, you don't really get to see that so much at the end of the book, but they had basically had a big victory at the Eye of the World. The Blight was pushed back because the Dark One was defeated. The Dark One isn't the Dark One; he's a Shamael, but he's defeated the first of 3 times anyway. And we get to see 2 other Forsaken there, and there's a bunch of things that, to be fair, don't make a lot of sense in the book. They're a little convoluted. You could tell that Jordan perhaps wasn't writing a series at this point. It was maybe going to be a standalone. So one of the big problems people have with the book series was the first book and the ending of the first book, I think. And then we have the television show, which ends just a bit differently. So, of course, it's just Moiraine and Rand that went up to the Eye of the World, where he faced Shamael, or the Dark One, they call him there as well. The battle was completely different. There were no other Forsaken shown. The big battle that happened at Tarwin's Gap was very different. We had Nynaeve and Egwene, as well as Lady Amelisa, basically with a couple of other... not named channelers, I guess you'd say, take out a giant army of Trollocs. Lord Elgmar seems to be dead. He appears to be dead. I'm sure we'll see him again. There's no way they killed him. But he appears to be dead. And then the whole show ends with Fane taking the dagger and the horn, stabbing Loyal, taunting Perrin. Matt is somewhere towards Tarvalon, and Rand is leaving Moiraine alone in the Blight to go on his own adventure. So much different. So that's setting the stage where we're starting, which is a huge difference. And I don't know about you, but I am fully expecting Season 2 to not even remotely resemble The Great Hunt and The Dragon Reborn. I'm expecting very, very big differences.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think Season 1 should be, a little nod to us to say, this is going to be quite different.
Yeah.
I think even Rafe Judkins has talked about that, about how some of the fake out deaths as well were get ready because people that you're not expecting to die are going to die as well, which I think is going to happen in Season 2.
I've been told it's happening for sure. So there are at least 1 or 2 deaths in Season 2 of people that probably should make it to the last battle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're going to see that.
Yeah, I have pretty safe money on at least one of them as well. I think I'd be very surprised if Swan Sonche makes it out alive after Season 2.
Which is a really, really controversial statement to say in the fandom. A lot of people get very up in arms when you mention that, and they get very upset because she is sort of a fan favorite character for the show. She was only in, I think she had less than 5 minutes of screen time in the first season. Maybe 6 or 7. There was a few breakdowns where they broke down screen time per character, but she did not have a whole lot of screen time, not on the screen. But people loved her. They loved the relationship between her and Moiraine. They want to see more of it. They're hoping she'll become a more central part of the show. But there are quite a few characters, like you said, that their storylines are intermixed with enough other people that perhaps they could be cut or moved or changed. And Sophie is just such a big actress. I mean, she is. She in her own right, she's a very big actress. She's very much in demand. To have her do a contract for multiple seasons and come back with time in between them, I think that'd be difficult for them to do. So I can definitely see her being one of the two. And unfortunately, and people are going to hate me for this too, is I can see Uno being the other. As much as we all love him, he goes away for a long time in the books and doesn't come back to much later. So
Yeah,
so
I think anyone that has a storyline that isn't super well entwined um with Rand and with everything about being set up towards the last battle
yeah,
is in danger
I,
of being.
I think there's a whole lot of people in the chopping block. So it's not that we're picking them to be controversial. It's just the fact that they're going to be two of many. There's going to be a
Yes.
whole
Yeah.
lot of characters. And I think there's going to be a lot of characters introduced for the show, even new characters that people are going to love, and they're going to go, yeah, they're done. They're only here for a little bit. So the big question of the day is, what do we expect to see from the season? So we have 8 episodes. Again, we believe there's 4 blocks. There's only 3 directors this time around, as far as we know. One of the directors is directing actually 4 of the episodes, and a good 2 months, and almost most of episodes 7 and 8 are being filmed in Morocco, which they're filming right now.
Mhm.
So there's a lot to unpack here. So we have. I'm pretty sure I'll give my take on the beginning, and then you can give your take, and then we'll shift, and you can go what you think the middle is, and I'll talk about the middle, and we'll do the same for the end. But I think the beginning of the season, the first 3 episodes, we're going to see Randolph on his own, and I think he's going to take off, and he's just going to be wandering in the road, and he's going to meet Selene on the road. He may save her from bandits, he may save her from a Trolloc, there may be something going on there, sort of similar to what happened in the book, but no mirror worlds, no nothing else. And I think she's going to take him under her wing and guide him towards Kyrian. That's my guess. As far as Perrin goes, I think Perrin is going to be right for the hunt for the horn. He's going to head out with Ingtar and Elias, which we know is in the show. It's been leaked that Gary Beadle's playing Elias, so I think he's going to head out with them. He'll learn a little bit about his wolf powers. That'll be his story. I think there's going to be a third storyline. It's going to be Egwene and Nynaeve going to the tower where they meet Elaine and they interact with Kate Fleetwood's Leandrin, which may take the place of a lot of the different, Black Aja and different Red Sisters that we see. And then the final storyline, of course, we have 2 of them. We have Matt's, who I think will be completely intertwined with the 2 girls at the tower. So I think Matt's going to be re-healed at the tower. I think he'll be with Egwene and Nynaeve. And then we have Moraine and Lan, who really, they don't have much of a storyline in the second book, The Great Hunt. They're not really there a whole lot. And Rafe has already said there's making up a storyline for them to keep them sort of actively involved in the show. And I think that's going to be her traveling to see Varen. And I think that's how we're going to see Varen. She's going to try to figure out how to unravel the shield on her. That's my guess. So I think that's the first 3 episodes. What do you think is going to happen there? Something similar,
Yeah,
or am I out to lunch?
yeah. No, I think you're pretty much right. I think what we're going to see is a lot of people on a journey that's like book 3, and a lot of people are on a
Yeah,
journey that's like book 2. I think Rand is going to be the one that's going to be a mix of both of them,
yeah.
because I think he's going to meet Selene, as we're calling her, on the road, and she is going to give him a bit of a history lesson, I think, about who he is and what he is and what's at stake, and the predictions, the prophecies of the dragon. I think might come into that quite a lot from her point of view. I think instead of Selene trying to push him to find the horn, she's going to try and push him towards Calendar
That
instead.
makes sense. Yep. No, that 100%
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, and I think because of that northern kind of journey that he's on, instead of coming down south towards uh, Falme, maybe he goes towards the Stone of Tear instead, straight away. Perhaps I'm not 100% on that yet, but I think that's what she might be pushed into instead. Is that she wants him to? I think she's going to tell him pretty early on that the who he thinks is the Dark One is not dead, and
So something else is that I've been kind of toying around with is I think we may see Asmodean this season too. Um, I think that when he meets Selene, she may be traveling with him, and
Yeah.
that begins his training earlier, because there's been a whole lot of talk about power creep. I mean, what are they going to do? I mean, you already have these untrained channelers that are supremely powerful, but how do they go from that? And Rafe has said in interviews that things are going to get bigger and better. So I think Rand is going to have to kind of catch up. So I think they may introduce Asmodean now rather than in the Waste.
Yeah, sure. That'd be. I mean, that'd be a good idea, unless they make him Asmodean Tom as well, which I'm not against. To be
Yeah,
honest with you, I wouldn't be a complete because I just like to see more Tom. Because I think Tom was one of the
yeah.
better castings of season one. But yeah, the other storylines, I'm pretty much with you on them. I think Perrin is obviously going to be taking charge of the hunt for the
Mm.
Horn, which I think works well with his. He needs to do more. He doesn't do a lot in the first few books, but
There's not a whole lot of Perrin at all in the first couple books, and Matt really doesn't hold his own until book 3, really either. So
yeah, exactly, and I think Perrin being taking the lead for the hunt at the Horn will work nicely with his relationship with Aiel, because obviously she's a hunter for the Horn, and it'd be quite nice that he's been like, yeah, I've been there and done that, and all that kind of stuff. And obviously he's going to be traveling with Loyal because he wants to try and heal Loyal. Matt's storyline, I think, is going to be purely book 3 storyline. I think the Neve and Egwene's and Elaine's is going to be a mixture of that as well. And then Moraine and Land storyline, having them meet Verin is and trying to find out about shields and how to unweave them and all that is as good a shout as any, really. It is kind of the unknown in a lot of respects, because she doesn't do a lot in book 2 or 3.
no,
And
not
so
really at all.
3. So that'll be an interesting one to see. I kind of had a thought there about Elaine. How are they going to meet Rand is the thing that I'm thinking, because
That's
a lot
interesting.
a lot of book 2 has been adapted already at the start of book 2 in a roundabout way. We've been introduced to Swan Sanche, we've been introduced to more Aes Sedai, which we're not done in book 1. It's book 2 when we're introduced to them. The hunt for the Horn has started, which doesn't start until 150 pages into book 2. That's already done. So we've got a big chunk of 2 done. It's adapted. It's there. It's the wheels are in motion for it. And my thought was always that when it was pretty early on, knowing that like Caemlyn's not going to be in season 1 and the Trackans aren't going to be in season 1, I was always like, well, you know what? They'll just do that scene at the start of the Great Hunt where Swan Sanche comes to comes to Faldara, and they're all there, and they'll just bring Egwene. Elaine will be with them because
And now
she's
we know
not.
Rand isn't going back. He just
So
kind of
Rand isn't
abandoned
going
his
back.
friends. He's like, yeah, I'm going on an adventure. Screw you guys. I'm done.
Yeah.
So
And I don't think we'll see. I don't think we'll see Caemlyn for
no,
seasons. I don't think we'll see it for years. So it's like I
I don't
don't
think we're going to
know.
see a meeting between Elaine and Rand until maybe late this season, late season 2.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. So it's like it's an interesting one, because that's going to be. How much of it did they pull from the book? How much of
yeah,
that, because it's a beloved scene, and it's something that I think a lot of people would love to see in a way. Elida as well, because I know there's a lot of people that kind of think about, Leandrin will take Elida's place, which I don't think they will, because they're very different characters and they
yes,
serve
yeah.
very different purposes. Um, so I think there's characters that Leandrin could take the place of, which are more in line with what she is and who she is, and her beliefs. So it's all this. It's like where does all this come into play? And it's with Rand being alone already, it kind of limits that quite a lot. So about where it can happen, it can
So
only happen at the end of the season, I think.
so you mentioned that you don't think he'll go to Kyrene. He'll probably go in a different direction. Maybe be pushed towards Kalandor immediately by Selene.
No,
If
I
that's
think
the
he might
case,
struggle. I
do
think
you
he might still
think?
go to. I think he might still go to Cairhine. I think they'll go that
Yeah.
way towards Stone of Tear. I think through that kind of, because
So
it's
you
that kind
might.
of direction.
So do you think that they'll do 2 separate storylines? So he'll go to the Stone, maybe meet the Aiel there, because Rafe has already said we're going to see more Aiel than we expect in season 2. Um, and everyone else will go to Falme. So it'll be like kind of everybody doing Falme without the big battle with the Dark One in the sky, which admittedly I wouldn't mind having cut. I mean, I like the idea of the battles on the ground and stuff, but a little bit cheese. I mean, just a little. Probably
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
play
yeah.
well on screen.
Right.
Do you think he'll go to the stone and kind of do that on his own and start forming his own power while everyone else is
Yeah.
is, is in Falme?
I think they can do both, and I think they might split some of the characters up about where they go. I think they will still take into Cairhine or Cairhine, however it is you say it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm looking forward to being mentioned in season two, so I get the definitive
yeah.
way of this is how
There's
it's
different ways,
going.
and I mispronounce everything anyway. That's I'm known for that. So I don't take me as an expert on pronunciation. For the love of God.
No, I think that they might have everyone meet up there mid-season,
Mm.
and
Which
everyone's
makes
got
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and everyone has their own secrets. Everyone apart from Matt, maybe Matt will be there. Who knows with Matt at this stage? But yeah, the hunt for the horn and and Rand may all meet up in Carhine as they do with Moraine in tow. I think possibly at this point, and they might have the whole Barthanes manor thing, and Rand might help out with that. But I think they might go their separate ways after that as well, because we know there's going to be a lot of Aiel in this season, and from what we've kind of heard, little whispers of, and from for many different production reasons and quality reasons, they want to get to the Shadow Rising as quickly as possible. You
Yeah.
know,
That's where the series really starts to pick up. So
exactly, yeah. And book two and book three are very very similar structures, and they have very similar events that happen as well. So if you do book two, even half the season book two, and the second half season book three, people will be like, well, this is the same story. And if you do it in
mm.
subsequent seasons, people will be like, I've seen this story already. So I think maybe sending Perrin and some people down to Falme and Rand and some people up to the Stone of Tear to get Calendar and doing it all at once could work. The battle with the Dark One in the sky, well, they could still do that. I mean, they could still just have it projected everywhere if they wanted to, over every major city.
I
You
guess they
know,
could. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
there's no reason why they couldn't do it. Really, like it's a what does Brandon Sanderson and Robert Jordan called them? Is it like Nexus events or
It's just something that happens everywhere all at once. Like it's an
yeah.
important event. So yeah.
Yeah, so it could be, it could just appear. They could have this fight in the Stone of Tear, and it appears in the sky above everywhere, and and that is a more elegant way of everyone knowing that Rand is the Dragon Reborn as well. Uh,
So, so one of the things though is I want to talk about where they're filming now. So they're filming in Morocco, and they're filming in a
yeah,
few different areas. They're filming at Studio Atlas Studios, where I did this in a news video not long ago, where they have a couple of pre-made sets inside. They have a galley set. They have a giant Jerusalem set that was made for the Last Kingdom. It's absolutely huge and gorgeous. They have a couple of things, and then they have a huge acreage of basically desert where they can film. So a lot of people are speculating Aiel Waste, Stone of Tear, things are filming there, but they're also filming in a couple of other areas. One of which is coastline, so that could be Falme. So I was kind of leaning towards the fact that maybe we would get Falme and Stone of Tear mid-season, and then we would get the start of the Aiel Waste, the end of season. But I think they're going to kind of mash all three storylines together, and we're going to see them all at once. We might see shots of the Aiel in the waste without any of our characters there, like the main characters, and we'll get introduced to Avienda, and that's them coming down to the Stone of Tear, and then we'll have the Stone of Tear stuff where they meet Rand. I think the whole last half of the season is going to be all of that. You'll have at least an episode, full episode for the Aiel stuff, a full episode for the Stone of Tear stuff, a full episode for the Falme stuff. Maybe not individual episodes, but a full one of each. And I think we'll get a lot of Avienda for the last half of the season too.
yeah. I think that'll be good to do, because you have to build up the Aiel quite a lot, and that's one of the things that I liked about season one, was that they didn't shy away from the Aiel, because they're a huge part of the Wheel of Time, like from every single aspect of it. And it's interesting to I did a thing with Matt from Dusty Wheel once for a charity screening, where every time we got to hit a certain donation threshold, he read more notes from Robert Jordan's early work, and so many of his very very early stuff had the Aiel already existing as they already do in many ways. Like it develops a little bit more as it went on in terms of the different um, societies and everything, but they were very, very part of his main focus at the start of creating this series. And the main character of the books, and I know everyone says it's an ensemble kind of thing, but Rand is the Dragon Reborn, and he is the main character, and he is an Aiel, and so much of it is entwined with that. So it's great to have them in it so early and to kind of build up them as a society and them as a people. And Avienda is a great character as well. Like I think she's a brilliant character. She's one of my, I'll say talking my own bias here, but she's one of my favourites. So I'd be looking forward to seeing more of her. But yeah, it would be. It's the thing with when the filming in Morocco and people will say desert, and it's hard to kind of naturally you would think the waste because you think well desert and that's it. But we haven't seen many places, right? So we don't know how Tear looks. We've seen the Stone of Tear in the background, and we've seen like a little delta, but we don't know what the city looks like. We don't know what Falme looks like. We don't know if how they're going to do it. It could be any of those places. So it's until we hear more leaks, which there hasn't been a lot of, or we see a trailer or something. It's very hard to kind of guess, but I think the smart money would be on them trying to compress and mash as much stuff together in this one, because I think it makes so much sense to get to book 4 as quickly as possible, because not only because it's where like a lot of the more beloved stuff of Wheel of Time begins, it's just easier from a production standpoint because they have it's set in the story is set in 3 locations pretty much, and
and they could just split the season up, which would be, I would love to see one full season, maybe season 3, just book 4. That would make me happy.
Yeah.
Book 5 and 6 could do a season together. Like they can start mashing things together after that. And they can cut whole swaths of books and storylines out later on. I think they have said they only want to do 8 seasons, so they're going to have to.
Yeah.
Like they're definitely going to have to. But I want to see book 4 the full season. That would be nice.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Something that Rafe and them did with season 1 that I thought, and I kind of realized this, is they did a really good job of building the world and making it seem big without showing us anything. Because they really showed very few locations, very few places, and realistically, even with very little travel in between, but they made the world seem very big. So you're right, we don't really know what they plan for having a lot of the stuff, and we do know that camels are a thing, so the camel probably didn't come from the waste, it probably came from somewhere else. There's definitely deserts somewhere else in their world they built there, so I don't know. Maybe it's not the waste, I have no idea.
It's actually, and I do think that we will see the waste in season 2. I think
so too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes. I mean, the Aiel are already introduced, so just having them appear in Randland in the wetlands isn't as satisfying now because they've appeared in the wetlands. We've seen them, so you'd be like you would want to see where they come from, and you'd want to spend a little bit more time with them. I think, as I said before, I think Selene Lanfear is going to be talking to Rand quite a lot about the prophecies of the dragon. And I think what they might do is show the Aiel leaving the wastelands because of their prophecies and have that as a kind of counterbalance of letting the viewers go, hang on a bit, I think they're talking about the same person. Like we shot where Matt and Perrin come across the Aiel and they talk about the Caracan and like they look at each other and think, are they talking about Rand? I think they are talking about. I think they'll do the same thing but for the viewers to be like, hang on a second, I think they're all looking for the same person.
All I know is that they've been very, very good this season of keeping things quiet. So I looked at all the things we knew about here before the first season dropped. We knew a lot. There were a lot of leaks. There were a lot of photos. There were a lot of videos. There was a lot of casting leaks. There was a lot of stuff. Right now, we know almost nothing. And if we go with the fact that it's going to be second quarter next year, which I'm pretty sure it's going to be, that I've been told that from a few different people that's likely, although it couldn't change. We're a year out. but we know nothing. We have a couple of official castings. We have a couple of tenuous casting leaks, a couple of good casting leaks from Watt series. No photos, no leaked stuff from set. Everyone seems to be very quiet. So I don't know what to expect, but I think they're doubling down on the fact that Lord of the Rings is coming out soon, and they're like, we can't talk about Wheel of Time right now. Can't steal the thunder because everything is Lord of the Rings, everything. So even the leaks have
Yeah.
stopped.
I think it's as well like I mean, obviously Lord of the Rings is the main focus at the moment, but studios tend to underestimate the general audiences, right? And they'll be like, we can't be talking about two fantasy shows at the same time because people might get confused as to which one we're talking about, right? And that's how they think. They like to have the ducks in a row where it's like, okay, you like this, well then, because I can guarantee that, like, as soon as Lord of the Rings has finished its last episode, they'll be heavily advertising Wheel of Time again because they'll want those people that have subscribed to Amazon Prime to start checking out season one. So there'll be a lot of like post advertisement of Wheel of Time around that. Have you watched this? We recommend this. We do this. And I think that's when they'll start then with a big kind of push. Maybe they'll have something for the fans before that. Maybe at like Jordan Con or Dragon Con or something like that. Maybe little bits here and there, but I wouldn't expect anything
No.
massively official.
I can't make it to Jordan Con this year, unfortunately. But if I was a betting man, which I'm not because I'm poor, but if I was a betting man, I would say there's going to be zero show presence there, other than the fact that maybe Sarah would go because she's gone to Jordan Con a bunch because that's a staple for her. She goes. She's a big super fan herself. So I think that might see Sarah, but I don't think there's going to be any real official presence, if that makes any sense, at Jordan Con. At least not this year. Next year, though, it would be very smart of them to do it if they're releasing season 3 shortly after Jordan Con, or season 2 rather, shortly after Jordan Con, because that's kind of the vibe I'm getting. So that would make sense to me there.
Yeah, I think season two, like, obviously, season three is more or less officially greenlit. It's as greenlit as officially possible without being official. I think at
Yeah,
this stage, but I think season two is kind of I won't say make or break because they're getting that third season, but I think it's one of those ones where it's like, is this going to be a big show or is it going to be the boys level show, which is still big and it's still good, but is it going to break out to be that kind of Game of Thrones kind
yeah.
of size thing? And I think it's wise for them to take the time with it. And I think I know there is people kind of looking at what they're doing with Rings of Power and a little bit of like, you didn't do that for us kind of thing. But and I get that, but Wheel of Time was a testing place for Amazon Studios, like, to see how to make a fantasy show in the first place, how to market it,
Yeah.
who's
and
going to
and
watch it.
they've actually shared, so they're sharing cast, not sharing cast, that's the wrong thing saying, they're sharing crew. So there's
Yeah,
people that worked in the Wheel of Time. Wayne Yip, for example, one of the directors
yeah,
of
yeah,
2 episodes of the first season, he's directing some of the Lord of the Rings stuff.
yeah.
So I'm not going to say they made Wheel of Time to train their people, but
I think
it probably didn't hurt. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean?
I think Wayne Yip, I think was quality wise was the most consistent of the directors
Yeah, yeah, he was really
from
good.
it as well. He was really good. His episodes were 3 and 4 were both excellent quality, really nicely shot, looked good acting. Other directors also did well, had high points. Kieran Donnelly did a great job with Seven, which I think was one of the best episodes.
I think
I
that's my
think
favorite. Yeah,
he did as best as he could, I think, with a really bad situation.
yeah,
But it's no surprise that I think the one who had the most consistency and highest quality has gone over to Lord of the Rings. But it works both ways as well, I think, because you know Lord of the Rings is like Wheel of Time's Trojan horse, right? Because Wheel of Time is big, right? Wheel of Time is built, it's done well for Amazon. It's a well beloved fantasy property with readers everywhere, but it is not Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings
no,
is a
no,
different size, right? Not only with book readers, but it already has visual following from the
Yep.
movies. Okay, and the TV show is going to bring in much more subscribers for Amazon than Wheel of Time will. Like if you were launching them both beside each other at the same time, Lord of the Rings would outstretch it, right? That's just the way it's going to be. However, those people will stick around, and that is the thing that where we benefit, because those people will watch season one of Wheel of Time, and if you go like with when you take away the kind of trolls and stuff, you look at people that liked Wheel of Time, you've got around 70 to 80% of people that like it when they watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll stick around for season two as well, which is great. That's what we want. So yeah, I don't really mind that they're taking the time with it as much. I think it makes sense to go after Lord of the Rings, but hopefully not too long after it. Hopefully they just find that kind of time where it's like, right, this is the best time to go with this now and get where we're going to get the most kind of views. Because I want it to be big. It'd be great if season two broke loads of records again. And
I would love that. Yes.
yeah,
Give them
and we
all the
got
money and time.
yeah, we got even more money for season three, more episodes, and it kept them rolling on that way, because that's what we want. Because as you said before, they need to compress, they need to cut out some. But that's a lot easier if they have more episodes to do it per season, right?
I mean, we can cut out the Succession storyline completely, and I'd be happy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't miss that. Maybe some of the Fael capture, some of it would be nice. Make it shorter.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway,
the fight.
that's our thoughts on what we expect to see from season two, and when we're going to see it, I guess. So I hope you folks had a good time watching this. Let me know in the comments down below what you folks think. What do you think is going to happen for season two? Are we close? Is David close? Am I close? Are we both out to lunch? Like, let me know your thoughts down below. I've also left a link down there to his podcast and his YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there and subscribe. It's a lot of really great fun content. Check those videos out. And I want to thank you all very much for sticking with us here at the very end. And here's to many more.